All right, so my thoughts on Roma Army versus Think Before You Can Sleep, or Think Before You Can Sleep's take on Roma Army. So I just watched, I didn't even realize, I think I watched it maybe 6 months ago, and I forgot that I had watched it. But Think Before You Sleep did a breakdown of Roma Army, basically calling her a chameleon. And I watched it like 6 months ago. I think I might have only watched half. I might not have been in the right mind state, blah, blah, blah. I have actually been watching Roma Army recently, and I think that she's a tough nut to crack because she will say some great stuff in favor of men, but then she's just all over the place. I've seen her post practically nudes on her YouTube. And I just learned that she had basically an OnlyFans or a Patreon that acts as an OnlyFans, whatever, same thing. So I'm gonna get into that today. I'm gonna break down my thoughts on that. And I do want to give a shout out to Think Before You Sleep. That's a great channel, really, really good channel. He does really good stuff. Very, very thought out. Very, very well done. I've always liked that Red Pill channel. But yeah, let's talk about Roma Army. So this is one of those things where it's like, I'm torn on this because she does call out a lot of bullshit, from women. She does call, and I do appreciate that. It's one of those things where, like, 21 Studios attacking Donovan Sharp, where it's like, okay, maybe Donovan Sharp has some questionable history, etc., etc. He's done some questionable things, etc., etc. Maybe he's not exactly who he says he is, etc., etc., blah, blah, blah. But what he is doing very well and very good is he's spreading the red pill message. He's putting content out there that is helping men, that guys are learning from, and it's educating. And we need all the voices that we can get in the red pill community because feminism is so popular. We live in a gynocentric society, so anybody who is speaking for men, standing up for men, and particularly calling out female bullshit, like, that person is our friend, right? So it's similar to that, except it's not quite the same, because I think Roma Army is a lot worse than Donovan Sharp based on a few things. First of all, she's a female, right? You got to be wary of that, right? Like, there's only a few females that I really trust, that I really, really trust care about men, that I really, really trust genuinely care about all men. And really only a few. Diana Davidson and Karen Strawn are off top. Cassie J made a Red Pill video. That's a great documentary, that Red Pill video. Esther Villar wrote a book called The Manipulated Man. There's a few more out there, but it's rare. The woman, the female who stands up for men and genuinely cares about men is a rare thing. I think Roma Army is kind of in the middle. Like, I think she kind of cares, but I think she's all over the place. Like, I don't think she fully cares about all men. I wouldn't just outright call her a complete fraud. Because, it's similar, like I don't think Donovan Sharp is a fraud. When 21 Studios use that word fraud on Donovan Sharp, I don't think so. The reason why I don't think Donovan Sharp is a fraud is because I think Donovan Sharp genuinely cares about men, and he genuinely cares about what he's talking about. He's not just 100% in it for the money. It's hard to say about that with Roma Army because she has an OnlyFans, right? So essentially and who are her OnlyFans supporters? They're the guys who watch her content on YouTube. So she's funneling her support, her male audience support to her OnlyFans to make money. And she's making $12,000 a month, which is a lot of money. That sure beats a 9 to 5 at $10 an hour. And she's doing that by selling nudes. And I think she has a son or a daughter. I can't remember. But she has a child. And she's not married. So she's a single mom, which is a red flag. So I agree with all the red flags that, go watch Think Before You Sleep's video. I agree with all his red flags that he talks about. Um, you know, she's got tattoos. She has mental health problems. She's a single mom, right? And if you're and she's attempted suicide, and she's got an OnlyFans, right? And she says things that are contradictory. She jumps from and you know, and if you go to her channel, and in her own view, she says, I'm for genuine equality, so I call out bullshit on both sides. But let's be real, I'd say 80 to 90% of her content is calling out female bullshit, because she's not going to get any followers from when she's not going to get any female followers. All her audience, all her demographic and content, you know, watchers, content consumers are males. Like all of them. I don't see any. I go to her videos. I look through the comments. I don't see any females commenting, because they don't like being called out on their bullshit. Women don't like that. They don't need a woman who's calling them out on their bullshit. They probably consider her a traitor. They probably hate her. But yet she'll throw in some shit that, like, you know, she'll try to call out men. It's not to say men never need to get called out. There's some bullshit, toxic shit that men do. Men and women are toxic, but we don't live in a society where men are mostly toxic. That's a lie propagated from feminism, right? That's a lie. I think the opposite is true. We live in a world that's mostly toxic from females. Sorry to say. But and this is one of those things where it's like, why does she do that? Because her audience is not women. So why does she do that? I think she does it because she's somewhat mentally ill. I think that if she was really, I think that she's maybe like 60% a fraud, right? Like, she kind of cares, but I think that she probably only cares because she's damaged. And maybe and maybe because she's damaged, because she went through an abusive relationship, or she had an abusive father or parents or whatever, sometimes when you go through deep trauma, it opens you up to oppression. You don't like oppression. It opens you up to suffering, and you know what suffering is, and you don't like it when people suffer. So to some extent, maybe she can relate to what men go through, and so maybe to some extent there's some genuineness, but also what I see, just straight up objectively, when I see Roma Army, like, I see a attention seeker. I see a thirst trap. I see somebody who probably doesn't feel very attractive. I don't think she is very physically attractive. I mean, she's not bad looking. She's good looking generally, but she's not like a hot girl. She's not like really pretty, or she's not like sexy. She's just kind of a skinny, decent looking girl. She's good looking, but you know, she's not like. And I've known girls like that my whole life, where like they're not that good looking, but they're not ugly either. They're just kind of like, yeah, she's okay, you know. There's always something about them where they're thirsty for attention. They thirst after attention, and they do so in an active way, where they go out of their way to get your attention. Even if you give them attention, they have this like frenzy about them, or even if you give them attention, it's not enough, because there's something wrong within them. They're not content or self-conscious, or excuse me, they're not self-content with themselves. They don't have the right kind of self-esteem, so they're always seeking for attention, and even if they get it, it's not enough. That is mental illness. So I can see what Think Before You Sleep is talking about when he's talking about her mental illness, which has manifested itself in several suicide attempts. And he's right. When you have a child and you commit suicide, or excuse me, you attempt to commit suicide, that's a selfish decision, because your child needs you. I mean, at least give your child up to adoption first. I don't think she did that. I don't know. I don't want to get too much into that, but it is a selfish decision when you have a child and you want to die, because you're not living just for yourself. You're living for somebody who not only needs you, but loves you in the closest way possible. The maternal child, the love between a child and the mother is so strong, and it's so as a child, you need your parents. It's so strong. And that's why once you become a parent, you're no longer making decisions for yourself. You're making decisions for your child. So when she made that decision to commit suicide, and I get it, mental health, mental illness is serious. It's real. But the truth of the matter is that, and it can get really bad. And sometimes you don't see any other out besides suicide. You get so down in the dumps, you get so depressed that you don't see any other option. But if I kill myself, I'll feel better. If I kill myself, I'll end all this suffering. Like, I get that. That's when people are suicidal. That's how they get. That they see that as their best option out of that place that they're in. I get that. But again, you have to love your child enough to where you would die for your child. And if you want to die, that means that you have to love your child enough that you would live for that child. So living every day is dying for your child. If I explain that to where it makes sense. So that's not only a selfish decision, it's a mentally ill decision, right? So here we have a woman who supposedly is a champion of equality and human rights, and she's standing up for men because men need it, right? On the other hand, we have a woman who's making $12,000 a month selling nudes. That's a red flag. That's a gigantic red flag. Not only that, she got all these tattoos, which are kind of crass, if that's the right word. They're really blatant and kind of... I'm not trying to judge her. Everybody has their different style. Everybody has their different, likes and things that they're into. Like, that's fine. You can have tattoos, but it does, in the context of you having mental illness, it's like, oh yeah, she's got these brass, in your face, crass tattoos. Like, we're like, yeah, look at me. And it's like, I guess it's art. Actually, I think they look pretty good on her for who she is. I think they fit her personality. And, they're not bad looking per se, but they do stand out, right? And as a Christian myself, as somebody who understands propriety, and I get that we live in 2021 and it's a new age and people are out there doing all this. It's like, okay, but still, you got a daughter or you got a son. I forget if it's a daughter or a son. You got a child. You should be a good example for your child. You got all these tattoos, and it's like, I get it. We live in this society where everybody's accepting of people's differences. Oh, you got all these tattoos, and it's like, some tattoos are art, like really artful. Those are really crap, and it's like, there's something toxic about it, right? So, but I don't want to judge. I don't want to judge. I'm not trying to do that. Like, I like tattoos. I'm into tattoos, and like I said, I think they look pretty good on her for what they are. But in the context of her having mental illness, in the context of her literally, putting up her nudes, which I'm going to get into next, why that's so bad. Her having tattoos really doesn't play into the, her being a example of a woman who's not toxic. Now, let me get into her OnlyFans. So given the fact that she does have these tattoos and she has an OnlyFans, this is probably the most crucial point and issue that I have with Roma Army on this whole shit, right? Is that if you are standing up for men, if you are supposedly a champion of men's rights, human rights, and you're a female, why are you doing the very thing that hurts men? What does porn do? Porn hurts men. Why does porn hurt men? Because it ruins women. People want to say like, oh, well, if you watch, porn hurts men because they get addicted to it. Porn hurts men because it creates unrealistic standards of men, excuse me. Porn hurts men because it creates unrealistic standards of women, how women should be all sexy and all this stuff. And those things are kind of true. Like, yeah, you can get addicted to porn, and yeah, if you watch porn, like, you can get unrealistic standards, and you don't want to do anal with your wife and gag out your wife and all this. Like, you probably don't want to be doing that stuff. Like, so it can be toxic in that way. But the real way that porn hurts men is it warps women, because porn is a culture, and people assume that oh, well, it hurts men because mostly men watch it. First of all, no, I think it's like 50-50 or 60-40, something like that. A lot of women watch porn. It's just, in my opinion, they don't have to watch porn because they can get the real thing easily. The reason why men watch more porn than women is because men don't have access to sex like women have access to sex, and that's just common sense. But anyway, the real reason why porn hurts men is because porn teaches women that they can sell themselves. Porn teaches women that men are suckers for sex, and it plays into the whole bartering system which surrounds females and sex. This is what porn is. So for someone like Roma Army, who's supposed to care about men, to have an OnlyFans is really just absolute hypocrisy. It is, it creates a confusing message. Like, on the one hand, you are for men, and it's like, it shows where her values are. She doesn't have moral values. She might have equality values, but her values aren't really moral. Some of her equality values when it comes to men are based in morality, but then she turns around and shoots herself in the foot and hurts her overall message when she has naked pictures out there for guys she's selling herself. That's pretty close to being fraudulent. That's about as close to being fraudulent as you can get in this case. Although, like I said, I do believe that Roma Army does care about men. I do believe that she cares about equality and she cares about men's rights. I think so. I'm not, I've heard some, I read some comments, I think, Before You Sleep's video on her. And, guys were saying, oh, she's a total fraud. Now I don't believe anything she said. I don't know. Like, I think that she does care, but I also think she is a chameleon, if that makes sense. Like, on the one hand, she cares, but I don't think she cares as much as she acts like she cares. I think she cares about herself more, right? I think she cares about money a lot, I think because she's funneling her audience, which is men, right, into her OnlyFans or her Patreon, whatever, right? Her nudie, buy her nudes, talk to her, like, that is contradictory to the type of position that she's supposed to be holding. You shouldn't do that. Because why? Because that's a toxic move. Women who have OnlyFans are toxic. Women who pose nude, period, and sell themselves or do porn, that's toxic. Sorry, because I'm not saying that you can't enjoy sex per se. But if you're having sex on camera, that means you don't care if anybody looks at it, which means that you're immoral. That's toxic because you have a kid. First of all, you have a kid. Second of all, you're supposed to be for men's, care about men's health. And yet, what does porn do? Porn puts a price tag on sex. It warps women into being these teases and being these, I made a video on this about pornography being idolatry, a podcast. Pornography essentially is just idolatry. You're worshiping women. You're worshiping the female body, and it's beautiful. And it makes us come, and it's sexy, and it turns us on. It's supposed to do that, but it's supposed to do that for one woman in the confines of marriage. Now, it sucks that we have this pornographic system because it's addictive in its own way. Like, men use porn like people use tobacco. Men use porn like people use caffeine. It's like it gets us, it turns us on. It gets us to have orgasms where it's like, but it's a replacement for the real thing. What's the real thing? Sex in a loving relationship with the right woman, right? And this is a whole nother point, but it's very difficult to find good sex with a loving woman because women are so convoluted. They're so complicated. We got to have money for them to even be interested in us. We got to check off all these boxes. We got to do all this stuff. And then what do they have to do? Nothing. They don't even have to be in shape. They just show up. And it's like, no, we want you to be in shape. That's why porn has sexy women, because we want good sex with women who are in good shape and it's sexy. And yet, what are our options? Because women are selling themselves. The sexier they are, the richer you have to be. And it's just like, this is all part of that system that is so fucked up. I've talked about this in other videos where pornography is idolatry, and it teaches women to sell themselves. And I go into how that's part of female nature, how women are selling themselves for a high quality man or a man who has a lot of resources. This is all linked, right? So Roma Army is playing into that system by having her own pornography, right? The word pornography stems from the word fornication, which is sex outside of marriage. So her OnlyFans, I don't know if she has sex on her OnlyFans, but it's close to pornography. It's essentially, voyeurism. She's selling nudes. She's selling herself naked. And at some point she probably would do porn, and it's immoral, it's warped, and it's something that, somebody who has tattoos and somebody who's kind of toxic and mentally ill probably wouldn't understand why that's wrong. Probably wouldn't understand why that's immoral, and probably wouldn't feel like it's immoral, because this new, I guess she's only like 23, 24 now. So this new generation, they don't even have any remote clue of what morals are, because we live in a generation that was kids having porn when they're 10. Kids, it's all accessible on your laptop. Kids are watching porn by the time they're in middle school because it's free. You think every parent has a child lock on their kid's laptop? Think again, right? So this is affecting this generation. This is affecting our culture. This is not a good thing, man. This, when you don't have morals, or I don't even want to use the word morals. I would say when you don't have a moral compass, meaning you don't even know what morals are, because some people know what morals are, they just don't care, right? But if you don't even have a moral compass, meaning you don't even know what morals are, you're not going to think there's anything wrong with that. Oh yeah, I'm selling my nudes. So what? This is what this new generation is trying to do. These liberals, this feminist, radical feminist, gynocentric system and society that we live in is trying to do this, trying to push this new set of rules, which is without morals. So you're playing into that and hurting families when you do that. Like, okay, you're making money. Like, you make $12,000 a month. That's a lot of freaking money. Right? For somebody who's mentally ill, she's probably all kinds of dysfunctional. She doesn't look healthy. She doesn't look like she eats very well. She's very thin, right? So that's a lot of money for somebody who probably would be on welfare if she hadn't figured out this avenue to generate money, to generate a good amount of income. $12,000 a month, that's what doctors make. Okay, let's be real. Doctors make that kind of money. $12,000 a month. That's about $150,000, approximately $150,000 a year. That's what doctors make. Okay, so if you're this, I'm sure she didn't go to college, this uneducated girl, and you're shooting these videos on your iPhone and you're making $12,000 a month, you are benefiting off of the red pill, and you're mixing it in with your pornography or whatever you want to call it. You're selling yourself. That's pretty borderline fraudulent. It's pretty disingenuous. Okay? I think that think before you can sleep is pretty right on when he calls her a chameleon. I wouldn't say that 100% she doesn't, that she's just out there lying. I don't sense that when I watch her videos. I think she stands up for men, and I think she does have some good content for men and for males. I really do. I think that she has some quality content that does help men, that does put out a message. So my ultimate assessment is that she does more good than bad, okay? But I do think she's got mental issues. I do think that she's an attention seeker. I do think, but I also think that maybe her attention seeking is out of, her mental illness, right? She maybe she wants to connect. Maybe she feels like she's doing something good for men, and men are rewarding her with attention, and she deserves it because she's creating content that's standing up for men. So maybe it's almost like a misplaced sense of egalitarianism or something. And how much she really cares about men, that's a good question. Like I said, I think she seems like a person who's had a lot of past trauma. I heard Think Before You Sleep mention that her her ex-boyfriend almost killed her. He was abusive or something like that, and beat her up and almost killed her or something. I don't watch her content that much to know, her past and all the details about her, but it sounds like she got a lot of trauma from that. And then I think also I heard that she had a bad childhood or something. So it sounds like her caring about men is more like, and I mentioned this earlier, it's more like just her not liking oppression in any form, and she feels like she's going to be strong and stand up for men, in such a way that, she feels like she's doing something different, or she feels like, well, I'm a woman and I'm cool and I got these tattoos, so I'll create more of a, maybe I can actually help men more because I'm not some ugly 40-year-old woman who's standing up for men. No, I'm a 23-year-old, 24-year-old young girl who's attractive, and I'm standing up for men. So maybe I can catch a wider audience. Maybe some young women do watch her content. I don't know. Every once in a while I'll see a video or I'll see women standing up for men in some way, and maybe they're just standing up for the objective truth. Because a lot of what men go through is just the objective truth. It's like, well, a lot of what we suffer is really just objectively wrong. It's objectively unrighteous, a lot of the stuff that we go through. It's not subjective just to men only. Anybody can look at it and say, hey, whether you're a man or you're a woman, that's messed up what you guys are going through. That's not right. There's definitely double standards between men and women here. And I think that Roma Army is calling those out. And some other women do on TikTok and YouTube. Some other women do. The difference is that she does get paid a lot for it, and she is funneling that audience, that largely male audience, whether 80, 90%, 95% males watch her stuff, she's funneling that audience into her Patreon. So that's concerning to me. It's like, I don't know, how genuine can you be? But I do think she is genuine. I just don't know if her motivations are solely because she really cares about men, because if it was, she would do it without getting paid. It's like, and she's not even just purely getting paid, like, hey, if you like my content, please, subscribe, to my Patreon and just send me money for making these videos. And that's it. She could do that, but she wouldn't make $12,000 a month. She might make $1,000 a month, maybe $500 a month, $1,000 a month for that. But she posts nudes, and she's going to do like a OnlyFans type deal where she's talking to her subscribers, and they get to make videos with her and talk to her, and she gets to send them Snapchats or whatever, and her nudes, and they can do special requests and all that. She's making a lot of money from that, and that is essentially selling your body. So again, she's playing into that system that really, in a roundabout way, indirectly hurts men. Because when women sell themselves, it hurts men, because those women who are selling themselves really should be with one husband. Now, I understand things are hard. I understand it's hard working a 9 to 5, particularly when you're mentally ill and you don't have a college education. She's probably all dysfunctional. She has no energy, and she probably sleeps weird. I get that. So for her, like, the only job she could do is be like a waiter, a waitress or something. This is why a lot of girls get into stripping. It's not because they just like sex and they like showing their body off. It's because they got a lot of problems and they're toxic. And as men, we can have some compassion on that objectively, but at the same time, we also objectively have to look at the truth. Is stripping and doing OnlyFans and pornography, is that really helping men? Is that really helping women? Is that helping anybody? Is that helping society? Sure, it's helping guys come. It's helping us get off. But at the same time, like, we should be getting off with a decent woman, with a woman who loves us, with a beautiful woman who takes care of her body and eats healthy, and she's naturally sexy. That's what sex is supposed to be for, right? This is all toxic. Stripping, OnlyFans, pornography, thirst trap, Instagram models, Twitter model. That's toxic. That's part of that radical feminist gynocentric system, where it says it's okay for women to sell themselves, right? So, Roma Army, you have to at least admit that is hurting men, in a roundabout way, indirectly. You might be helping men with these videos you're making, but you're also hurting men in that you're part of that system, which sucks. So I'm torn on this ultimately. Like I said, I think she genuinely cares about men to some degree for whatever reason. But I also think she's got a lot of issues. And I agree with Think Before You Sleep's assessment on her. And I think that I wouldn't say that she should quit or stop or, you know, I don't know. She's kind of an anomaly. It's hard to say what to, you know, what she should do or you know, what would be the best thing that she could do, because I think she is helping men with those videos, but it's just a kind of a messed up situation. And I do think she's, you know, attention seeker. I think that she has that vacuous kind of narcissistic need for attention, but I don't think it's because she's toxic and malignant, you know, toxic in a selfish, malignant way. I think it's because she's toxic in a damaged way. I think she's toxic in a way she needs love, and she's in her twisted way, she's being strong by standing up for men who don't have a voice from a lot of women. So she thinks she's helping in that way, and you know, in a way that's noble, and I think she probably is helping in that way. So it's a hard one to pin down, a hard one to really call, but it is what it is, and that's my assessment of it. I'll leave it there. Appreciate you guys listening. Jay Lee, Northwest Podcast. Peace.